Welcome to Make Your Money Matter. I'm your host, Brad Barrett. I'm also a managing director and partner here at One Capital Management. What's the difference, friends, between being rich and being wealthy? To me, it's all about where you put the zeros. Having a large bank account really isn't the same as having, say, zero regrets and maybe focusing on what brings you joy. And we're going to talk about that today on the Make Your Money Matter show, because I think in as many years as I've been a financial advisor, this is a topic that comes up a lot for every one of my clients. But before we dive in, make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. All right, let's get into it. Many of you have heard the terms rich and wealthy before, and we're going to dissect that a little bit today. While those terms might sound the same, the nuances between them are actually vastly different. You can be rich without being wealthy and vice versa. Hear me out. As I stated before, being rich and being wealthy really comes down to where you have the most zeros for most people. When you think of the word rich, ask yourself this, right? What do you think of? You're thinking of things like assets, things like money, real estate, cars, etc. And by the way, nothing wrong with growing your assets. I made a career and a show, what you're watching and listening to, out of discussing with people how to grow your assets, because that's a great thing for financial freedom. But at the end of the day, no one really cares about how much you're worth or how much money you make. What they actually care about, friends, is your time. And I've said this before here on the show and many times with my clients who are watching and listening. I'll say this always, that time will always be more valuable than money. And money, although it can't necessarily buy you happiness, could provide you time and financial freedom. And I don't know about you, but I've seen that slogan before, that the logo before, what just basically says, no one cares, work harder. I love that. And I think this show me environment nowadays tends to lead to the more rich, where the wealthy tends to be the more silent. I think it's really important for us all to know. It's kind of like, look, stack Benjamins, if you will, and just don't talk about it. Work hard, stay humble, grow your assets, invest for you and your family. Invest, and my point here, by the way, today, in things that aren't necessarily what would make you rich, quote unquote. Don't invest always in just real estate and money. Invest in time, invest in relationships. And I want to share some studies here with you today that'll actually dissect this a little bit more. Harvard has conducted a long-running study, and this study actually goes back to 1938, and it followed 724 teenagers from their youth to their retirement. And get this, the happiest among those who were retired in this study had similar traits when it came to their mindset, not their bank account. So it was all about their mindset, right? And as I read more into this study, it suggested that there was an association between connections, such as your social circle, and ultimately happiness when you reach retirement age. And by the way, for everyone out there watching and listening, right, retirement can be, the age of retirement can be for anyone once you become financially free, not necessarily a specific age. And by the way, you don't want to find that in the zeros of your bank account, the joy. That's my point today. The thing that those in the Harvard study missed the most, get this, about their working years wasn't the work or even the making the money part. It was the connections with those around them. You know, I just finished a review meeting with a client who's been with me for probably 15 years, and they're in their 80s now. And my conversation with her was largely around legacy planning or estate planning. In fact, in that meeting, we had her estate planning attorney in there with us. And while her and I were talking, I found that we weren't really talking about growth or investments or stocks or money. We were talking about what she valued at this time and stage of her life, which were her hobbies, her kids, her grandkids. And what I realized is that for many people, for anyone out there who's maybe in their 20s or 30s, you talk to an 80-year-old right now, you'll find the discussion will turn to less of growth and income and more and money in general, and turn more into pleasures, more valuable things for them, things that money can actually buy. And those values, if you think about it, revolve around time and relationships. And that's what I want to share today. That, to me, is the difference. When I get asked this question, I want to share on the show. That's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich means adding more zeros to your bank account, where being wealthy is about living life, say, without any regrets or zero regrets, zero jealousy, and really just focusing on what brings you joy. And for many of you out there, this is essentially where the notion of can money, buy happiness comes from. In my experience, I found that the happiest people I know are the wealthiest, and it has nothing to do with the zeros in their bank account. And to that end, some of the wealthiest people I know with the largest bank balances are actually, sadly, some of the more miserable. I mean, to be completely candid here, money alone won't make you happy. We know this, and it's unlikely that if you're a happy person earning a modest amount, you'll still be a happy person if you're rich. The same goes for someone who's miserable. They'll be miserable even if they were in a middle income or higher income tax bracket, or rich. And I've said this many times before, money doesn't change you, it only illuminates who you already are. When it comes down to it, happiness isn't reliant upon how many zeros are in your bank account. It takes effort to reframe your thoughts and find what truly makes you happy. And that's where the wealth starts. And, to really, I think, let's call it refocus and reprioritize your decision making around that, right? That is where you find the intersection, again, between being rich with just assets, money, real estate, which, by the way, again, is a good thing, but also making sure you have a wealthy mindset. Have both. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, make sure to subscribe to our channel to watch more. And until next time, always remember to make your money matter.